While the 90s wasn't the best when it came to the horror genre, it still managed to produce a couple of gems. Arguably, the biggest gem came out in 1992, with Todd starring as the iconic and tragic figure of Daniel Robitaille, better known as Candyman. The movie scared the shit out of me when I saw it back upon release, and although I was only 10 years old at the time, I had already started to get used to not being that affected by scary movies. But Candyman though? Jeez. Now I will honestly still not stand in front of a mirror and say his name out loud 5 times. Fuck that. Since the film did do good numbers, a sequel was produced and released 3 years later in 1995. Candyman Farewell to the Flesh was not as well received, although it still has a few fans out there today, and even if it's been 10 plus years since the last time I saw it, I remember thinking it was alright. Fast forward even 4 more years into 1999, and we get what is so far the last movie of this property, with Candyman Day of the Dead. And that's the movie I will be reviewing today, as even though it's been a long time since I've seen both of the sequels, I just remember less about the third, and reading about it makes it seem like a film that is pretty much hated all around the board. Hell, even Todd himself has said that he did not care for the final result of the movie. So the question is Candyman Day of the Dead all that bad? Well, yes and no. The story revolves around a hot blonde chick named Caroline, who just happens to be the great-great-granddaughter of Daniel Robitaille. She's facing her nightmares and bloodline by holding an art display of the work that Robitaille did back when he was still alive. And she is put to the challenge of saying the name of Candyman out loud 5 times in front of a mirror. And to prove that the myths are wrong, she complies and unleashes the terror of Candyman once again.
Candyman. 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 Candyman.
So basically, the story is kind of shady, as it is just another blonde hot chick being tormented by having the Candyman obsess over her and making sure that she and the close ones are constantly in danger. Nothing new, nothing you haven't seen before in the 2 first films. I do wish that I'd gone about the script for this one a bit differently, by having some more creativity to it. They take some easy roads to stretch the story into 90 minutes, including unnecessary side characters like the 2 police officers and the sort of punkish Candyman cult that comes right out of nowhere at the end of the movie. The movie looks a bit cheaper than the 2 previous movies, as it has a more straight-to-DVD look to it, but to be fair, that's also exactly what the movie also is. It also plays more like a straight slasher film, instead of trying to be more like the 2 first, if that makes sense. There are more kills than necessary in it, and many of them just seems meaningless to the overall story. And at least I did expect more class, I guess, from a Candyman movie. In all fairness, these points have a lot to do with what I as a fan of the character wanted and wished out of the film, and I might have been more forgiving of such things in a more generic horror film from the same year. The characters for the most part are nothing to write home about. The star and the one who has to carry most of the film is Donna as Caroline. This lovely woman is mostly known for being one of the busty hotties in a lifeguard suit on the hit television show of the 90s, Baywatch. She does not give a great performance in the film, although it does come true that she did try and wasn't just in it for an easy paycheck. And it doesn't hurt that she's very nice to look at either. Todd is back as Candyman, of course, and he is yet again just awesome in his career-defining role. Todd gives 100% in every scene and even makes the poor dialogue he has to deliver worthwhile. He did have some extra investment in his film as well, as he was a co-producer on this and actually responsible for getting the owning companies of the franchise together to get this film into production. While I don't think his character needed that much screen time, I do still want to give some praise to Wade Williams in his part as the racist, asshole police officer. And if you think you've seen the guy playing Caroline's love interest in this before, then yeah, that's Garcia, who you should remember as Rod from A Nightmare on Elm Street. This film is both co-written and directed by Turi Meyer, who had written the script for Leprechaun 2 together with his writing partner Al Septian. The duo would also work together on the 1995 horror film Sleepstalker, which also turned out to be Meyer's first task of directing. He would venture more into television after Candyman Day of the Dead, and he has been involved on shows such as Smallville and The Vampire Diaries. Candyman Day of the Dead would end up being the last film of the Candyman franchise, and that's a damn shame, as this is a horror icon that I feel is not getting the praise it deserves anymore. In the 90s, it was almost the only new icon we got if you look past the Ghostface Killer. Not that one. There we go. It's to the point where I would not hate the idea of it getting a remake if a studio wanted to put a decent budget behind it. So, is Candyman Day of the Dead terrible and worthy of being bad enough to be a franchise killer? No. The film is not awful, it's just a forgettable slasher film from the late 90s. I did not mind sitting through it again, and Tony Todd as Candyman is enough to make me entertained. I would not mind giving up a few bucks to have this on DVD, but would not recommend buying it unless you are a big fan of the first two films in this trilogy. Candyman Day of the Dead is a decent film, and I will give it a 2.5 out of 5. Do you agree with me that this film is okay, or do you just hate it? Or perhaps even love it? I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on this might be, so drop me a comment, and also let me know if you would like to see Candyman return these days. And if you would, do you want Candyman to be remade, or do you rather want a continuation of this original franchise? I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for all the supportive comments I've gotten so far on my channel. Hopefully you will hear me soon again, and I do hope that 2017 has started off well for you. Thank you for watching.